Assalamu alaikum. Today's lecture is going to be about loops. We have studied the conditionals, and we are going to work with loops this time. The concept behind the loops is to write code in such a way that get to um, we get to repeat something. So whenever we are repeating something, we need to use a construct which is called loop. In Java, there are about three kinds of loops. The first loop is the while loop, the second loop is the do while loop, and the third loop is the for loop. If you look in the book, the for loop comes first, and afterwards we get the while loop and the do while loop. I think that personally, I think that the while loop is from where we should start, and so that is why I've switched the order in which we are going to learn these things in order to better understand like how loops work. So we know that as for repetition, computer is a machine, and one of the good things about machine is that they can do the same task over and over again without getting tired. And in programming, we do this by defining a repetition construct called a loop. So as I said before, there are three kinds of loops in Java, which is a do while loop, and the for loop. So first of all, we'll start with the while loop. A while loop is normally used in places where we are not exactly sure when the loop should break, like when the repetition should stop. So if we are not really sure when the repetition should stop, we use the while loop. It can be used in places where there is a numerical value and you slowly reach the numerical value, but generally it is used in places where you want the loop to keep on running and only end when we want it to end rather than at a certain set value. So that is what a while loop is, and this is the template for the while loop. So how it's very similar to an if statement. So instead of if, you have a while over here, then you have a Boolean expression, and then inside braces you have the statements that you want to write for this loop to execute. You can see like there are no semicolons over here. The semicolons only come in here where we are going to write all the statements. So how this works is that in the while loop you give a Boolean expression over here, and if the Boolean expression is true, you execute the statements, and once this Boolean expression becomes false, this while loop will end. You should be very careful that if the expression is not correct, so either the loop will not run or the loop may run indefinitely. So you have to be careful while writing the loops so that you are able to exit the while loop at the proper point. So here's an example. So I'll just quickly show you like how this example works. So first of all, we define an integer I. We initialize it with the value 0, and then we have the while loop. So the value of I is less than 5. So what this while loop does is it checks for this Boolean expression. So where the value of I is 0 initially, since it is less than 5, this expression becomes true. So as a result, these two statements are going to be executed. So it says system.out.println value of I is I. So it will say 0 in this case, and then over here it is I is equal to I plus 1. So this is mathematically it will not make much sense, but for computer science, how this works is that whatever is on the right side is going to be calculated and is going to be stored whatever is on the left side. So over here the value of I is 0. We add a 1 to it, so the combined sum of this expression is 1, and 1 is stored in I. And now since this is the last statement to be executed in the while loop, it will go back, and now the value of I is 1 at this point. So since I is 1, it is less than 5, and it's going to print the value over here I is 1, and then it's going to make 1 equal to 2, and I will become 2, and so on. So this will continue till I is 1, then 2, then 3, and then 4. As soon as the value of I becomes 5, 5 is not equal to 5. So, sorry, 5 is not less than 5, it's equal to 5. So this expression becomes false, and that will terminate this while loop. And that is why the loop will print values from 1 to 4. Um, the do while loop is very similar to the while loop, and the only difference being is that do while loop, even if the condition within the do while loop is false, the loop will run once. So in order to show like how the template is written, so you first of all you write do, you tell it to do something, so you write statements over here, and do this while this expression is true. So in a way, this loop will work once, even if this expression is false. Otherwise, it will keep on running like the while loop before it. Um, in my experience, I haven't seen the use of do while loop that much. In fact, it is being omitted from from a few model languages. But still, it's good to know about the do while loop in one way or the other.
Okay, sorry about that. There was some noise which is coming from across the room, and I just asked them to like finish the job, and they said that they will be done in about a few minutes. I think they are done. So I'll continue from here. So I started. I wanted to tell about this example, like the do while example. So it's this example doesn't really. Uh, it doesn't really mean much, but it's just there to exhibit like how the while loop works, the do while loop works. So how this example works is that we first of all we have two variables x and y. They are both initialized to 0. So suppose this value is false over here in the while statement is false. So suppose this is false, even then it's going to like print the value of x and y over here, and then it's going to get new values of x and y. So how this loop works is that the once after printing 0 and 0 over here, it checks like what is the value of x, what is the value of y. So math.random, as we know, it gives a value between 0 and 1. So suppose you get the value 0.1 for x, and you get the value zero point 0.2 for y. So 0.1 plus 0.2 is going to be 0.3, is going to be less than 0.5. So this condition will be true and will go back. So it's going to print 0.1 here, 0.32 here, and then it's going to get new math.random values. And so it's possible that x will get zero point 0.5, y will get zero point 0.6, zero point 0.5 plus zero point 0.6 may be greater than, well, not maybe, is greater than zero point 0.5. So this condition will become false, and that is where the loop will break. Uh, so this is how the do while loop works, and it's pretty simple. It's not very different from while loop, but the only difference is that even if the condition is false, the do while loop will run once. Another thing that you should keep in mind is that when you write a do while statement, there comes a semicolon at the end. If you do not put the semicolon, then you will probably get an error. Now we come towards the continue and break statements. The continue statement is okay. Let's tell you like how the continue statement works. So suppose we have the value I over here, and I is less than 5. So I'll check like if I is less than 2. So it's going to continue from here. Okay, so it's going to come over here, I is less than 2, it will come inside, it will make I is equal to I plus 1, so the value of I will become 1, and it will continue. So because of this statement, it will jump directly from here to here, it will not execute this line. Okay, so that's why we need to increment over here. So in case we remove this line, so the value of I will stay 0, even though we have written an increment statement over here, and that is because we have this continuous statement. So whenever the continuous statement is arrived, the loop jumps directly from here to here, skips everything which comes later. So I is less than 2, and then I becomes when I becomes 0, then it becomes 1, and when it becomes 2, so it goes to the else statement, it prints the value of I, and then it increments I. So it's going to print 2, 3, and 4 before this loop terminates. So this is how the continuous statement works. Now we move towards the next statement, which is a break statement. Break statement is used when you want to break something, like when you not actually break, when you want to break a loop from something I meant a loop. So normally a loop has a certain terminating condition, like why till how long this loop will run. But it's quite possible that you will say like, okay, I want to terminate it for a certain value, and in that case, like you want to terminate it prematurely. So in that case, you will use a break statement. So how this code works is that the value of I is 0, 0 is less than 5, and since 0 is not equal to 3, so it will go to else. It will print the value of I, and then it will increment I. Now I plus plus is similar to I is equal to I plus 1. You can write the same statement as I plus plus. This is the short form of writing the same thing. It's called increment, and now it's going to increment once, and now I will become 1. 1 is less than 5. Again, 1 is not equal to 3, so it will go to else. It will keep on doing this till I becomes equal to 3. Now as soon as I becomes equal to 3, it will break. So that is where this loop will end, and it will come out of this loop. So this is how the break statement works. Most likely, I will show this in this example, like the code review that is coming forward, and that should give you a good understanding like how the continue and break statement they work, along with how we can use the while loop to solve our problems. So we jump on to the code review. Okay, now we are going to do this code review, and this should also tell you like how I like to work whenever I'm writing some code, and what practices do I follow while I write this code. So I will be explaining that as I go along. I'm using Visual Studio Code. The Java plugin has been implemented, so I will be using the run and debug statement over here uh, to run and debug the code. I will not be using the command line argument. It's up to you. You already know the command line argument, so even if you don't have the IDE, you can always compile and run the code. If you have the IDE, it actually benefits you. You don't have to jump across between command line arguments and your text editor. You can just run and debug from this point on. Okay, so first of all, I had written this code, and I will always like keep a sample file, and I will always keep this code saved over there. So whenever I create a new file, I just paste this code over there, and I'm good to go. So first of all, I will need to check if this code is working. I will press on run and debug. It runs it, and I get test program. So I told it to write this test program, and it's working fine. So now I say that okay, let's make a small example, and in this example what I'm doing is I'm going to print the first 10 values of I. So I can write int I is equal to 0, and then I say that while I is less than 10, uh, you're going to write system.out print, and then so you will write um, over here print ln, and I will write a value of I put colon this, and I write plus I. Okay, so this is that simple. And I can always run this, and this should, if everything's fine, it's just, oh, you can see like I've made a mistake, and this loop is caught in an unlimited loop, and this is happening because I start this loop when I is less than 10, and 0 I is 0, so I remains, so I is less than 10, so this condition becomes true. I print the value of I, which in this case is 0, and then I do not increment I. So as a result, the value of I will stay 0, and it will continue and keep on showing the same line over and over again. That's why it's printing these lines over and over again. So let me stop that, and let me increment the value of I. Let me do it this way, I plus plus, and now run this, and this should work fine. And you can see like the value of I, it starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you might say, okay, so this is it should start from 0, so I can always like I plus 1, and then it will give me from 1 to 10. Huh? I made a mistake. Why has this happened? I think this happened because it put the value of I equal to 10 in the last time we executed, but this shouldn't have happened. Okay, I get it. Oh, this has happened because it's actually converts I into a string value and then adds one to that string value. That is why this problem was happening. So I should put this in brackets, and now it should be good because it's now adding I before it adds 1 to I. So now if I run this, so it should give us the correct input, correct output. So now I starts from 1, it goes all the way to 10. So this is good. We just wrote a simple loop which executes I from 0 to from 1 to 10. Actually, I start from 0, I add a 1 to it. So I can convert this into a do while loop. So in this case, I remove the while statement from here, I put a semicolon there, and I write it to here. So in this case, what is happening is that it's going to, the value of I is 0, is going to it's going to make 0 plus 1, it's going to print 1, and then it's going to do I plus plus, so 0 will become 1, and 1 is less than 10, so it will continue. So it will keep on doing this till I becomes 10, so 10 is not equal to 10, and it will stop. So if everything is fine, this should work properly. And you can see like we have this the same in the same output as in the case of while loop. But suppose I put I is equal to 10. So uh, so now it's going to go over here. It's going to say the value of I is I plus 1. It will make it 11. And then, okay, it's not adding the value 11 to I. So it just shows the value 11, but that is happening over here. So it's I is equal to I plus 1. The value of I is 10. We add 1 to it, it becomes 11. And 11 is greater than 10, so this condition becomes false. Where it's going to print the this line once. Okay, so it will not continue, but it will always print this line once. So if we run this, you can see like it just printed that line once, and then this condition was false, so the loop terminated. So you can see like even when the condition is false, the loop will run at least once. So that is how the while loops and the do while loops work. So now we'll quickly jump towards we'll see like how the continue and break statements work. So let me do this. Okay, so now this is the while loop, and it says system value of I is 1. So what I do is I write an if statement if uh, I is less than 5. So it's going to do continue. So in this code, what is happening is that the while will run. So if I is so the value of I is 0, so it's less than 5, so it will continue. So it will come over here. This condition will become true. It will come over here, and it will jump directly from here to here. And this will cause problems because it will jump from here to here and we are not incrementing I. As a result, this will I will never be incremented, and it will get stuck in unlimited loop. So we need to copy this statement and paste this statement over here. Now even if you paste a statement after the continue, so again, so this is wrong if I put the statement over here because uh, because if I put I plus plus here, so because of this continue, it will automatically jump over there, and this statement will not be executed. And it's all, and it is also telling me like this IDE is telling me like this will not work, giving me an error. So now, for all the values which are less than 5, so it's not going to print anything, but as soon as the value becomes 5 or more, so this condition will become false, and then it's going to print the values of I in that case. So if I run this, so you can see that uh, you can see that it starts from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we can see that this so it's not printing anything over here, but it just skips this line. But as soon as the value of I becomes 5, it starts printing that line. And similarly, we can write I is equal to 5. So if I is equal to 5, it's going, we don't need this now, and we, instead of continuing, we write break. So in this case, what's happening is that uh, is that this loop will continue. It will print value of I 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But as soon as it becomes 5, so this loop will break, and this loop will end executing at that point. So if I run this again, so it gives us like these 4 values, these 5 values, and it breaks because once I becomes equal to 5, it breaks. Now to make this a little bit more interesting, what we can do is we can define a random number, and we write num is equal to math dot random, and we multiply that with, say, uh, let's multiply it with 10. Okay, so whatever the value I get, it gets converted into, it's get multiplied with 10. I'll get some decimal value, and I want to convert that value into an integer, so I write an int over here. So now whatever value I get from here, it gets converted into integer, and I will get a num. So I will get a value from 0 to 9, uh, and uh, uh, and instead of writing it over like this, I just copy this thing and I put this inside the while loop. Because I want the while loop to generate this random number over and over again, so I put this equal to 0. So while I is not equal to, say, uh, let's make it 10. While num is not equal to 10. While num is not equal to 10, we write int into math dot random. So whatever we get, we do this, and we add a 1 to it. Um, so I think this should work fine. So whenever you are not sure if the code will work fine, what you can do is you can always like copy this code, place it over here, and you comment the rest of it out. Okay, so this will ensure that whatever I'm trying to do, it's working properly, and I print out the statement over here, value of num, and I write num. So I run this code, and it shows me the value is 7, so that is so far so good. Value is 4, value is 9, value is 10. So I think everything is fine. So it's going to like generate values between 1 and 10. So this seems to be working fine. I remove this, and I write while num is not equal to 10, it says like it says uh, full potential not reached. And as soon as it reaches 10, it says full potential reached. And now since this is going to generate random numbers over and over again, so this num is actually what is controlling the while loop. We do not require int I plus plus. Okay, and so yeah, so this is how we make this code. So let's review this code again, like what is happening. First of all, we generate a zero number. So our num is 0, so num is not equal to 10. It's obvious. So we then generate a random value and we multiply the value with 10, and then we add a 1 to it, and in order to so that we can have values between 1 and 10, and then we convert that value into an integer. So integer value gets stored in num, and as long as it is not equal to 10, it says full potential not reached. So suppose we got a 9 over here. From this, 9 plus 1 becomes 10, and then it will check the while loop again, and in this case 10 is equal to 10, so this condition will become false, and as a result it will break the loop and will say full potential reached. So so if I run this code, so it kept on saying full potential not reached, full potential, and finally once it's hit the value 10, it said full potential reached. Another way of doing something like this can be done like if I set true, so which means like this while loop will always be true. Okay, and it will keep on running. So this is like the value 1, and 2 means true, so this value will always be running. So this is not one of the best ways of doing this. So what you can do is you can write a flag and you put it equal to true, and while you can write while flag is equal to true, so this will work, or you can just write while flag. So if you just write while flag, it means since flag is true, so the value of flag will be replaced by true, and it will become it will keep on executing because the value of flag is true. So I generate a random number and I'll check uh, if num is less than 10. So it will say system, it will say full potential not reached. And since the full potential has not reached, so it will do nothing to this flag. The flag should remain true. Otherwise, it will say full potential reached. So we have the condition like the full potential will be reached when the value is equal to 10, and now since the full potential has been reached, we no longer want to run this loop again. So what we can do is we can set the flag is equal to false. We set the flag equal to false, so this condition will become false because while false, and as a result this loop will break automatically. Okay, or we could have written like break over here, like we could have written break over here and it would have done the same thing, but it's better that you use a flag instead of using break, because it might happen that when the flag turns false, you want this value to be used somewhere else. So in that case, since you have used break, the value of flag will remain true and the loop will break at that point. So these are the things that you need to think about when you're using loops. So let's run this code, and I think it's going to be interesting. So it says flag cannot be restored. Oh, sorry. So I just wrote it over here. I should have made it Boolean. Now this should work. So it says full potential not reached, and finally it says full potential reached. So whenever it hit the value 10, that is when this execution stopped. Uh, so yeah, so this is like a very brief introduction to the do and while loop, and I hope you enjoyed this. Um, and it will be better that you do the lab, which is like the lab number 6, which I have uploaded. And well, that is for the students. For other people, I would recommend that if you have any queries regarding uh, if you have any queries regarding sorry. So for other people, if you have any queries, if you want me to give some more examples, you can just write that to me, and I will create a special a special video which only solves problems using the while loop, the do while loop, the if conditionals. And switch case. So that would be very beneficial to you. If you need something like that, you can just let me know, and I will share that. I will share that video with you guys. Otherwise, this is it for today, and I hope to see you next time.